Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear learners. Welcome to the Chase Academy. I'm your instructor Zia Hamid. I hope that you're doing well. Dear learners, today, previously we have talked about the introductory lecture where we have introduced all these learning outcomes of this new unit, unit number 6. And today is going to be the very first lecture, lecture number 1 of unit 6. So the competency or the module that we have under discussion is vocabulary. It is related to words, how words are made, how they are formed, etc. So today's learning outcome resonates with that. We have this one SLO to cover today. Let's read it and then break it down. Identify and correctly use patterns of word changes that indicate different meanings or parts of speech. For example, if we have a word analyze, we know this is having a different part of speech other than analysis, analytical, or the word advocate and advocacy. Now, analyze is the word that can make up word like analysis, analytical. So it means that we can form in the English language according to the rules. These words are established, but in order to understand them, we need to understand that how can we identify and use these patterns of word changes according to which these words are looking identical, but they are changing in their meaning and giving us different meanings. But they are also giving us an idea that now their classification or part of speech is also changed when we are changing these words, when we are forming different words in the English language. So a noun can be converted into a verb following some prefixes or postfixes or suffixes. It can become an adjective, it can become an adverb, and all of these things. So it means that if we look at the dictionary or if we look at the most common words in the English language, they are mostly recurring. They are slightly changed, they are modified into making into another words, and in the process the part of speech changes. So we have two examples over here mentioned in the learning outcome, and not only the meaning but the part of speech also changes. This is what we mean by following a pattern of word changes. We need to, let's talk about the action word over here, the verb identify. We need to have the ability, we need to develop an ability to identify these word changes when we are coming across any kind of text. When we are analyzing different words of the English language, when we are learning our vocabulary, when we are increasing our word bank in the memory, we need to make sense of these words. And so, for example, we have a similar kind of word analyze that makes up analysis, it makes the word analytical. So they are kind of the same, they have the same origin, but the classification and meaning changes in the way we use it. Similarly, the word advocate, advocacy, and all of these words. So this is what we mean by word pattern changes. So we need to identify these patterns and we need to see that how they are making up different words. And this is what we need to identify and then use in our vocabulary, in our sentences, in both oral and written communication. Now students, I hope that the learning outcome is quite clear. We are going to play with words, we are going to analyze words according to the different patterns. So in this case, we have different terminologies. Here is your vertical linkage, and let's talk about root words and affixes. Yes. So students, when we are talking about, when we are dissecting and opening, when we are operating words, we come across different elements in a word. So what are the root words? Root means where something is stemming out of. So we have a root word, and by using this root word, we can make different words following the affixes. We can use some letters at the start of the root word, the main word, to make another word, and we can use some group of letters at the end of the root word. Right after the last letter ends in the root word, we add our suffixes. So when we are adding affixes, so prefix and suffix, they are called affixes. So when we are adding affixes with our root words, we see that we are forming different words. And all of these words are according to the pattern and standards of the English language. They are according to the conventions of the English language. So we need to understand how these affixes works, how we can identify the root word from any word, make slight changes, add affixes, and make new words. So this is what we mean by the SLO that we are learning. I hope that now you can think about so many root words. For example, the word work or the word quick. So quickly is a word that we can make by using ly, which is a suffix. We are adding the word ly, the group of letters ly, after the root word quick, and we are forming an adverb. So quick is actually an adjective, and quickly is a totally different part of speech. This is an adverb. So similarly, we can say that yes, we can form so many different words using the root word identification and then forming new words with affixes. All right, students. Now let's talk about root words. What are root words? A root word is a word that forms the basis of new words. It means that the root word is the most basic word, and using that word we can make the basis. It works as a base and we can make new words. So it means that root word does not change on its own, but rather we add affixes. They are prefixes or suffixes. Prefixes are the words that, a group of words that are added before the root word, at the beginning or initially, and suffixes are a group of letters that are working at the end of the root word. So collectively we call them affixes. It is the most basic part of any word. So the most basic part of any word is root word. This is what we need to memorize. The basic structure of roots are either affixed or suffixed, and then they become a new word. Root words are the foundations, they are the basis, the root of new words, but they do not typically function as words on their own. Let's talk about affixes. Affixes are small word particles that are added to a root word to change its meaning or grammatical properties. So the tool that we have is affixes, and it contains your prefix and suffix, or you can also call it postfix. Prefix means, as according to the word pre, it means before, and postfix or suffix is always adding up at the end of the root word. So these are the tools, these are the instruments that we use and we act upon the root words. Now, what do these affixes do? Yes, they change meaning of the word, and then they also change the grammatical properties. They may change the part of speech of that word. So when you are adding affixes, you are altering the grammatical pattern, you are altering the grammatical property or the unit of that word. Now you can make a noun into a verb, you can make an adjective into an adverb, and so on. Now let's classify. How can we classify affixes? Prefixes are affixes that come at the beginning of a word before a root word, and suffixes are affixes that come at the end of a word after the root word. Most affixes are one or two syllables, and some like S, ES are just sounds. So it means that it can be a two-letter word, or it can be one syllable or two syllable containing a vowel because in order to have a syllable, you must have a vowel. You must have a vowel letter in order to call it a syllable. Now, you can add S or ES as well. Often, affixes modify a word's definition. So when we are using affixes, now the new word has a different definition. It has a different meaning. For example, adding the affix re. Re is our affix. Now, is it a prefix or a suffix? Re always works as a prefix. Yes. Before read creates the word reread. Here, read is our root word. R-O-O-T, root. So, read is our root word and re is our prefix. Now, students, prefix or postfix or suffix, they do not make sense or meaning on their own, but they are always working with root words in order to make sense. So, we are adding our affix, re, which is a prefix before the root word read, and we have a new word, reread. Reread. What does it mean? Read again. What does read mean? Read. But reread means reading again. So it has a different meaning. Now, they can also be used in grammar, such as adding ed at the end of a verb to create the simple past tense, or adding an s to the end of a noun to make it plural. So ed or s, they are suffixes. So when we have a verb and we want to make it into the simple past tense, we are using ed with our root word, which is a verb, and hence we can make a different word in the past form. So it has obviously a different meaning, it has a different participle, and we can also add s to the end of a noun to make it plural. So s works as something that we need. For example, we have a word car. Now, in order to make it into plural, what do? We add affix s. It becomes cars. So it means that here s is working as suffix. Now, instead of having one car, instead of a singular noun, now we have plural nouns. And what makes a singular into plural noun? Affixes. And what is that affix? It is a suffix. It can be a single word s or es according to the different nouns that you have, according to the rules of changing singular nouns into plural nouns. Now, to understand the vocabulary, we need to understand each word and the history attached to it. We need to master the root words. Only then we can adjust our affixes with it to make a new word. English is considered as a global language because it is a culmination of all popular languages like Spanish, Latin, Greek, etc. So one very important thing about the English language is there are always exceptions to the rules. You read a rule, you learn a rule, and there is an exception for that. So this is how it works. So first we need to understand the root words. Where do they come from? What is the etymology of the root word? Where does it originated from? And then we can apply affixes according to our understanding, the prefix and postfix, to make it into new words. And now we can say we are using the word changing pattern in order to form new words. Now, how can we make a relationship between roots and affixes? Yes, they are very closely related. To identify patterns of word changes and to determine how to change word forms, it is important to understand the relationship between roots and affixes. In the previous slides, we have seen that how roots and affixes work together. The meaning of a root can be manipulated through the addition of affixes. The meaning of the root word, when we are adding affixes, meaning will be changed. The part of speech to which a word belongs also can be changed by joining an affix to its root. This is the relationship. Affixes can affect the meaning and the classification of the root word. Affixes are always there to add into the root words. On their own, they are nothing. So this is the simultaneous and actually a very close relationship between affixes and root words. Affixes can be added to roots and root words depending on which part of speech is needed in the sentence or context of a text. For example, we have a noun, an advocate. An advocate is a person who represents another person's interest. A synonym is a lawyer, just like a lawyer. So we have a word advocate, which is a noun. And advocate is our root word. As a verb, to advocate is to add a voice of support to a cause or person, to support something, to advocate for something. But by substituting a different suffix, it forms the verb advocacy. When we are adding y as a suffix with our root word advocate, by eliminating the te to add y, we are now describing the work of an advocate. What does an advocate do? Advocacy. Advocacy is the verb. The word analyze. Let's talk about the word analyze. Let me analyze it. So analyze is a verb, which means to study or examine something carefully in a methodical way. This verb analyze comes from the noun analysis. So what is the root word of analyze? Analysis, which is a noun. Analysis becomes analyze. By removing these later part of the words and replacing it with these root words, with these affixes, suffix, we can actually make a noun into a verb. Now, analysis is noun and analyze is the verb. The classification changes. The noun analysis was in turn borrowed from Greek word anelin, which means to dissolve. Similarly, the adjective analytical is formed by substituting a different suffix. So, let's say we have a noun analysis. So, if we want to use it as an adjective, as a quality, it becomes analytical. So, this suffix, tical, T-I-C-A-L, this is our suffix that makes our root word analysis, the noun analysis into adjective, which is analytical. So this is how the word pattern works. We play with affixes with our root words to make different words. And the root word is the same, but the meaning changes according to the change and alteration that we do. Next, let's talk about the preliminary determination of the meaning of a word. You will observe that from the Magna Carta to the Declaration of Right, it has been the uniform policy of our Constitution to claim and assert our liberties as an entailed inheritance derived to us from our forefathers and to be transmitted to our posterity. Now, we have this sentence, a very long one, with the word derived underlined and bold. Which of the given choices is closest in meaning to the bolded and underlined word derived? What do we mean by derived? Understood from, fortified, collected, or passed on. So, yes, You will observe that from the Magna Carta to the Declaration of Right, it has been the uniform policy of our Constitution to claim and assert our liberties as an entailed inheritance derived to us from our forefathers. It means taken, it means passed on. So the inheritance, this word and this word tells us that it means passed on. Now, students, we have some MCQs over here attached with the main lesson of the book. If you see, if you open up your book on the page that we are currently on, you can see that now you have to choose the correct option out of all these different MCQs. In the given passage, what does the word dread most likely mean? So dread means anticipation with excitement, joyful and cheerful anticipation, enthusiasm and eagerness, fear or apprehension. Right? Yes, you have to choose, read the text, read the passage given, and then choose the right option. So these are all the MCQs related to the passage that you can find in the book. Read it thoroughly and then choose the right option for the right kind of meaning of the word. Now, we have an activity to do, and let's use our knowledge, prior knowledge, and that we have learned today about affixes, which means adding prefixes or suffixes to these given root words. Now here all of these are root words. It means they have their meaning, but we can play with them. We can add our affixes to make them into other words. Educate. Educate is a verb. Can we make another word from educate? Yes. Education. Now this is a noun. Educate means to educate somebody, to tell something, to inform, to aware something of something. Education is the process. This is the noun. Then we have words like educating, educated, with all these different affixes that we are adding. So with shun, with ing and ed, we are making 3 new words from the root word educate. Just like from the word create. This is our root word. Now, can we use a prefix to make a word? And here we will use suffix. So, create can become recreate. Create can become creation or creative. Creative. Right? So, same one root word, but we can make prefix, we can make another word using the prefix re, which means to create again, and suffix shun, which means this is a noun, creation, and creative. Now this is a quality, this is an adjective. So creative here is adjective, creation here is noun, right? So in this way, now it's up to you students to make. Now let's use them in our sentence. You will use, all right, there's a little, all right. So students, you have to make new words using the affixes out of these root words and then use them in your sentences. For example, educate, we can make a word education and say that education is very important for our country. So in this way, you can solve this activity. Now, we have another activity for you. Be very attentive. We have all these different affixes: re, post, over, and pre. Pre is a prefix, over is a prefix, post is a prefix, and all of these. These are all prefixes that we need to use. Number one, The problem with taxis is that they are often recrowded, post-crowded, overcrowded, or pre. Yes, we know if somebody is more than enough, they are excessive, then we say over. Yes. The problem with the taxis is that they are often overcrowded. Number two, Asif was elected as the captain of the cricket team. Yes, re-elected. Yes, he was selected again. So elected means elected simply, but re-elected means that this is happening, this happened again. Yes. Number three, the tuck shop offered the students a blank fund because the milk was sour. Yes, refund. To get your money back, to get the fund back means to get a refund. So here we use the prefix re. She added a postscript at the end of her letter. So anything that you add after something is postscript at the end of her letter. Number five, we get paid electricity at our house. So it can be postpaid or prepaid. Yes, prepaid. So here, paid and prepaid, giving us different meanings and different part of speech as well. Now students, here this is a website that you can access and you can type your words, your prefixes and or suffixes and get as many words as you can make with it. So if we can just play this just a minute. Yes, now students, this is a website called webutility.io. Here in this address bar, you need to add your prefix. Now let's see. I want to know how many words can I make using the prefix re. Now let's generate it. Now we have to wait for a while. Now you can see over here that all these words, this re, this in re, yes, read, all these words, rear. Now let's take the word, the suffix post. Yes, post. Let's generate it. Yes, now we have so many different words that are made up of the post suffix. Repost, dispost, impost, posting, posted. Now, as you can see, some of them are prefixes and some of them are suffixes. So this is a very good tool to learn more words, play with them, make new words with prefixes and suffixes, and understand more about the topic. Now let's get back to the slides. So this simulation link is for your understanding, and for resources, you will get a skill sheet, a worksheet, a question bank containing so many different queries and MCQs, and a presentation that you are watching right now. You will get it, and then you can revisit the lecture once it is uploaded on YouTube. Please leave your valuable comment. Let us know about your understanding. Give your answers according to the activity as well that you have done with me. This is all about today's lecture, dear learners. We have talked about vocabulary competency, and in vocabulary, we saw that how we can understand the word pattern changes, how we can use the prefix group of words, group of letters, and the suffix group of letters before and after the root word respectively, and how we can generate new words. And in that process, the meaning changes and the part of speech changes. So this is all about that. And in the English language, the affixes are used extensively. So now your job, your task is to find and identify the root words and the affixes in all these different new words that you will read, so that they can be memorized and they can be learned easily. This is all about today's lecture, dear learners. I hope everything is clear. I will see you in the next video lesson with another SLO. Till then, practice your resources, practice the SLO as much as you can. Take care of yourselves.